Hello, and welcome to another moment in art history. Today we're going to tackle post-impressionism and finally talk about artists that you and the rest of the world are entirely familiar with. Post-impressionism happened really right after impressionism. That's what the post part means. And it is full of famous artists celebrated throughout the world, most notably Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh suffered his whole life with mental illness and found art to be his only escape. You might recognize his works like the Sunflowers or the Bedroom at Arles. But today we might as well take a second and look at his most famous work, Starry Night. In this you see an old cypress tree and a small village underneath a swirling, beautiful, glorious, dark blue sky. Now, Vincent van Gogh started out not as an artist, but as a missionary. And it wasn't until he saw the bright and bold colors of the Impressionists, as well as the aesthetics of Japan, that he really became the artist that we are all familiar with and love. Unfortunately, his life was cut entirely too short due to his own illness. Rest in peace, Vince. The next artist I want to talk about is Paul Gauguin. This guy is pretty radical in his bold use of flat color and his use of imagery. In the self-portrait that we're looking at right now, you see Paul Gauguin as he holds up a snake in front of what seems like an apple tree. Now, with a little closer examination, you realize that snake could be the serpent, and the apple tree could be the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So what would that make Paul Gauguin? I will let you be the judge of that, viewer. And then the next artist I want to talk about is George Seurat. Now, he was instrumental in developing the painting style known as pointillism, where the artists use little bitty, almost microscopic dots of point, so small you can't really see them, very close together, very close together, in hopes that a blue dot and a yellow dot might just make green. As we look at this painting, titled Sunday Afternoon at the Isle of the Grand Jatte, one of only 7 works of art that George Seurat made, you will realize that this pointillism technique did work in its own way. And it's quite a remarkable piece. And this, my friend, can be found in our home state of Illinois. One trip to the Art Institute, and you can see this massive oil painting made with microscopic dots for yourself. I thoroughly encourage you to take the trip. The last artist I want to discuss today with you is Paul Cézanne. Paul Cézanne, regarded by Pablo Picasso as the father of us all. Paul Cézanne's radical approach to portraying both forms and space allowed for Picasso to come up with Cubism, which we will get to in just a couple videos. I'm pretty excited to share it with you. Paul Cézanne, in this still life of apples, you can see what we artists call multiple perspective, or Paul Cézanne tore apart the space he was depicting and then rearranged it sort of like you might a jigsaw puzzle that didn't quite ever fit back together. If you look at the table closely in this painting, you realize that that table could never exist in real space. If you look at the top of that basket of fruit, that is not in perspective. That is beyond what we can understand and see. Paul Cézanne was using space to be more expressive and less of a realistic depiction. Another thing Paul Cézanne revolutionized was the use of form. He started to simplify forms and get rid of accurate rendering in favor of simple geometric shapes. Again, this is an idea we see repeated over and over and over again as history marches forward and as the ideas of the post-impressionists reached the hands of Pablo Picasso and others like myself who follow. I want to thank Vincent van Gogh for his radical colors and his thick use of paint. I want to thank Paul Gauguin for his daring use of colors. I want to thank Paul Cézanne for bringing us multiple perspective and really bringing the inspiration that led to Picasso. And maybe someday they'll say Shearer. And finally, I want to thank George Seurat for trying to experiment with color in new ways and showing us that artists are supposed to try new things. So go out, try new things. In conclusion, I want to thank my executive producer, Garrett Cook, for his hard work, and I want to thank you, viewer, for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.